Good morning. It is just after 6 o'clock. I can tell you this morning that we are due very shortly to get the result from the Clacton by-election. So let's go straight now to the count in Essex.
In which this is, and the positive way in which we spent this evening. So thank you indeed for that as well.
Thank you.
And now to the declaration. I, Ian Davidson, being the acting returning officer at the election for the Member of Parliament for the Clacton constituency, do hereby give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at the said election is as follows. Darwood Thomas Faithful, commonly known as Joseph 77, Independent, 42. Al-Khatib Adam, the Forward Party, 49. Harvey Jonathan David, commonly known as Count Binface, the Count Binface Party, 9,455. Delves Nicholas Charles Ellsworth, commonly known as Nick the Incredible Nick the Incredible Flying Brick, the official Monster Raving Loony Party, 28. Hey. Kane Tony, Independent, 17. Carr Matthew Nigel, commonly known as Woke Trump Kazi, Independent, 8. Clouston William Stewart James, Social Democrat Party, 256. Cowan Rees, Independent, 50. Cummings Glenn Charles, Independent, 7. Davies Martin, Freedom Alliance, Real People, Real Alternative, 60. Earlham Andy, Independent, 44. Farage Nigel, Reform UK, 22,239. Fard Attia, Independent, 126. Fox Lawrence, the Reclaim Party, 347. Francis Tony, Independent, 432. Green Robin, Independent, 59. Hookway Abbey, Independent, 14. Hope Allen, commonly known as Howling Lord Hope, the official Monster Raving Loony Party, 18. Ingram Stephen Richard, Independent, 159. Morris Amy, Independent, 46. Morris Derek Norbert, Independent, 100. O'Brien Martin, Independent, 65. O'Keefe Michael Noel, Independent, 19. Pellis Nick, Independent, 202. Hippolyah Ketankuma, UK Voice Safer and Stronger UK, 21. Pocock Daniel, 16. Ransley James, Consensus Party candidate, 192. Smith Jerry, Independent, 9. Stevens Kai, British Democrats, 132. Stevens John, Rejoin EU, 492. Berry Peter Bryan, commonly known as Baron von Thunderclap, the official Monster Raving Loony Party, 15. Walford Pamela, Independent, 371. White Marcus, Everyone is God, Party, 10. Wilkinson Mark, Independent, 11. The number of ballot papers rejected was as follows: for want of official mark 0, voting for more candidates than voter was entitled 40, writing or mark by which voter could be identified 1, being unmarked or wholly void for uncertainty 239, the total is 280. The electorate is 79,785 and the ballot papers issued as referred to above is 35,401, meaning that the turnout was 44.37%. And I therefore do hereby declare that Nigel Farage is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Clacton constituency at this election. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
So you're just watching the result, the declaration in the Clacton by-election announced and the confirmation that Nigel Farage, Reform UK, has won the by-election with a vote of 22,239. It is worth saying, if you're watching these pictures, that early this morning Nigel Farage said he would not be attending the declaration, which is why he was not on the scene there. You've seen many of the other candidates there, but Nigel Farage was not there for the count itself.
Yeah, indeed. He did, however, declare victory a little earlier this morning. So let's take a listen to what he said. This was about 3 hours ago.
We have secured far more votes than we got in the general election of 2024. And in doing so, we have beaten the candidate for the Unity Party. Yes, there were Liberal Democrats, Labour and Conservative canvassers out canvassing for Count Binface. What an upside-down world it is, where Count Binface is now the candidate of the establishment.
Well, our political correspondent Harry Farley is in Clacton for us this morning. Harry, you've been there all evening. Of course, at this point, normally, we would be expecting to hear from the winning candidate, but Mr Farage is not there. Just explain why not.
Yeah, it's been one of the most surreal election nights that I've covered, to be honest, not least because of that record-long declaration that we heard from all 34 candidates. But as you say, Nigel Farage is not here. He gave that victory rally at a party for his supporters down the road earlier in the night, and there he said that he had been told by Essex Police that there was a plan, a campaign, an organised campaign, he said, to disrupt and denigrate the vote, and he said he didn't want to be humiliated by what he said was a bunch of nobodies, suggesting these other candidates. Following on from that, we had a statement from a Reform UK spokesperson saying that it wasn't just not wanting to be humiliated, but actually the Essex Police had told Nigel Farage there was a credible threat against him. However, we understand that Essex Police have not told any candidates not to attend this by-election, so there is a degree of confusion about Nigel Farage's explanation, at least, for not coming. The fact remains he's not here, and yet nevertheless he has won a stonking victory here, winning more votes than he won in that 2024 general election 2 years ago on less overall votes, as it were. There were fewer votes cast today than there were 2 years ago in 2024, and yet Nigel Farage has won more votes in total. Now, the counterpoint to that is obviously out of that long list that you heard just there, none of the main parties were on there. None of the main parties chose to stand. They said that this by-election was called as a distraction from the questions about Nigel Farage's finances, the probe that he is facing by the independent parliamentary commissioner. They said this was all a stunt to distract from all of that and have boycotted the event altogether. Such site you might be able to see just off camera is Count Binface, the nearest rival to Nigel Farage. He is just exiting stage left behind me. He won 9,500 votes, so it was the closest contender, I suppose, closest challenger to Nigel Farage. But other than that, the main headline from that is that Nigel Farage has won a big majority, a big victory here in Clacton-on-Sea, but he's chosen not to attend the count.
Yeah, Harry, you mentioned the investigation by the Parliamentary Commissioner. Many people will be wondering what happens to that investigation now.
Well, what happens is that once Nigel Farage is an MP again, it can resume. So Reform's argument will be, in the hours ahead, that this puts to bed the questions about his finances. It shows that they will argue. It shows that voters don't care about these questions about Nigel Farage's finances. And yet those questions are not going to stop. Because, when Nigel Farage returns to Parliament, when he is sworn in again as an MP, that probe can resume. And now that we can't predict, we can't assume any outcome from that. The question is over. That £5 million gift that Nigel Farage received before he was elected. He says he didn't need to declare it, but the parliamentary investigation is looking into that, whether he should have declared it, and they have the option of a range of sanctions, a range of punishments. At the most harsh end of that range of punishments, there could be a series of events that leads to Nigel Farage having to stand in another by-election. So we could be back here again in the months ahead.
And just digging down very quickly into those figures again, so you've got the fact that fewer votes were cast this time compared to the general election back in 2024. Nigel Farage has won roughly 1,000 more votes than he did back in 2024. But in the context of not actually facing any candidates from any of the main opposition parties, how will that result be pulled apart? How will that be seen?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I haven't got the percentage in front of me of what Reform have won, but it's a significant victory. They will argue that is vindication for their decision to call the by-election, and vindication for their argument that the questions about Nigel Farage's finances are essentially an establishment plot. What it tells us about the political debate more broadly and Reform's standing in the country, I think, is very little, to be honest. We can't read too much into this result because, as you say, none of the main parties were standing, and because this is quite a unique corner of England. It's a corner of the Essex coast that has the most deprived neighbourhood among it. It is disproportionately as an older constituency. It is less ethnically diverse. It voted heavily to leave the European Union. So it is an area of strength for Reform UK and Nigel Farage, and the voters here have sent a resounding message that they back him. But I don't think we can read from that much about Reform's standing in the country as a whole.